And as we kind of reflect on what we've shared with each other, what's coming to you now? What have we learned? What are you taking away from our conversation?
For me personally, I'm really, what Teck Kwang has said about observing the styles of the leaders and of the employees that he's been working with has really got me thinking, that's so important as facilitators that, it's not a one size fits all. As much as the model is fantastic and it's universal in many ways, we're still going into these different environments and we still need to reflect what are their actual needs? What are they telling us? What are we seeing? So yeah, that's just brought to light to me to be, conscious of, I'm not saying this is the way you need to do this. I'm saying, what are your needs and which parts of this model might support them? So yeah, that's what I'm reflecting on today.
Teck Kwang?
Yeah, so for me, as I was sharing, I was also reflecting at the same time, right? I think leadership and the organization development aspect of things, they are very closely linked. We can't do strategic planning without leaders' involvement. And it made me think a little bit, a lot of times when we do strategic planning, we always talk about strategy, strategy, strategy. We involve people. Uh, it made me realize that maybe we haven't involved leaders so much. uh, not it. I mean, we involve them in the planning process, yes. But how closely integrated is leadership development and organization development? How is it intertwined? So I'm starting to think about that a little bit. Yeah, I don't have an answer for it yet, but I feel that it is linked to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I do think whenever you are called upon to do strategic planning, it is an OD or organizational development intervention. It can require both vertical integration, where you're talking to people whose voices are rarely heard, to the voices of leadership who are almost always heard, and trying to get that scan. And then you're trying to go also horizontally, with time. Where has this group been? Where has this community been, et cetera? And where do they want to be to have the greatest impact on the world that they wish? And so, it's a very, very humbling quest. I always feel humbled when somebody asks me to do this, because I know that it can be incredibly impactful if it's done well. So thank you so much, my beautiful colleagues from around the world, for exploring strategic planning a little bit, just a little taste of it. And any final words before we close up?
This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.
Thank you, Barb. I'm just thinking, I have a question for you. Have you had cases where strategic planning, people come to you with agenda and say, like, I would really like to have this. Like, do you struggle with it? What do you do when they come with a preset agenda? Half a preset agenda, not a full agenda.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's so common. And my first inner gut reaction is kind of a bit of cringing, because it feels like I'm now a little bit more locked into something. They've gone down this path, and there's less flexibility to have the impact that I think the group can actually have with each other. So I try to listen. I try to refrain my judging, my sense of, this is going to be tough. My ideal situation is they have really no idea what strategic plan is, and I can come in and do whatever I want. That's kind of like, the gift from heaven. But when it's sort of like they've got this preset idea, and a little bit like your case, Leah, where, like we're going to keep the staff and the board separate, and they can only meet separately. But, as we talked about it together, as you were going through it, it felt like we could find something that was, was really going to work fairly well for them. And I think that's what I do, TK. I ask a lot of probing questions about, just how much this is rigid, how rigid it is, and where there might be a little give and what the consequences potentially of following this particular model is. And then I also have to suspend my own judgment and like open my mind and go, okay, so this isn't the way I would have started it, but like, let me try and understand why they've gone down this route. So the more I understand, the more helpful I can be. And just, it's like that Panama Canal image that I was saying at the very beginning is like, ooh, there's this little window of opportunity to kind of change things up. And I quoted a story in an earlier blog where a international group wanted to get together and they had everything, all the speakers lined up, and like there was just almost no opportunity for interaction. And I had to really push hard for them to get participant interaction and between the speakers and everything. And I had to look for, like these 10-minute opportunities to have the audience weigh in on what they're hearing and start to influence the agenda. And it went very well, but the client really was discouraged by my level of pushback against their agenda. So yeah, I know it's a long answer to a question, but it's a great question.